Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. 5090 June 25 paper 1-1 O-level biology. Now, as you all know, this paper is for 1 hour and there are 40 questions and you have a choice of A, B, C and D and you have to choose one of them and mark it on the answer sheet. Now, starting with question number 1, the diagram shows a plant cell. Now you can say it's a root hair cell. You can see the nucleus, this is the vacuole, this is the cell wall, then there's the cell membrane, then there is the cytoplasm. What is the function of this cell? What is the function of this cell? To carry mineral ions along stems. To photosynthesize? Definitely not. It cannot photosynthesize. To take in carbon dioxide? No, if it cannot photosynthesize, why would it take in carbon dioxide? To take in water? Yes, that's the answer. So the answer is to take in water. The diagram shows a structure that was observed using a microscope. It has a cell membrane, a cell wall, and then it has ribosomes, it has plasmids, and it has DNA. What does the diagram show? Is it an animal cell? Is it a bacterium? Is it a plant cell? Or is it a virus? I hope everybody knows what this is. Yes, it's a bacterium. Bacteria are unicellular. They have a cell wall made up of peptidoglycan. They have a cell membrane. They have cytoplasm. Virus does not have any cytoplasm. A plant cell has a proper nucleus. This one doesn't have a proper nucleus. It just has circular DNA lying somewhere in the cytoplasm. It's not an animal cell because it has a cell wall. Question number 3, the diagram shows the structure found in cell X. It has cytoplasm, cell membrane, and nucleus. Now there are 3 labels, but in X, there are only 2 things, cytoplasm and cell membrane, and there's no nucleus. So it has to be a red blood cell because liver cell has a nucleus, root hair cell has a nucleus. Xylem vessels, of course, do not have neither a cell membrane nor any cytoplasm. Xylem is just the cell wall is left. And then, there is no cytoplasm, there are no organelles in it. So the xylem has just these cross walls left and it has no cytoplasm, no cell membrane, no organelles, no nucleus. Question number 4, what is an example of an organ? Very basic, you see, digestive system, that's a system. Eye is an organ, blood is a tissue, neuron is a cell. So question number 4, the eye is an organ. Question number 5, a new type of small vertebrate with lungs is discovered. This is identified as a reptile. Which vertebrate in the key is a reptile? Vertebrate with lungs, body temperature varies, maintains constant body temperature, moist smooth skin, and skin with scales. So that is one we have to go. So the answer was B. It is body temperature varies with the environment. Reptiles, like you see lizards, which are not seen in the winters and seen in the summers only. Question number 6, molecules and ions can be moved into and out of cells by active transport. Which statement about active transport is not correct? Now you get this wrong because you are not thinking that out of this 1 is wrong and 3 are correct. So look at the 3 which are correct. Now active transport takes place only in plants. No, that's wrong. It takes place in plants and animals. It even takes place in bacteria. It even takes place in the red blood cells, which have no mitochondria, because they have some other way by which they can respire and make ATP. So the answer to 6 is A, but why? B is correct. Active transport moves molecule and ions against a concentration gradient. So you have to look at the 3 which were correct. They were the ones which you were not going to circle, and the one which was, so this is correct, active transport, so itself which was not correct. Active transport uses energy to move molecules and ions. Yes, that's correct. And molecules and ions are moved across partially permeable membranes by active transport because the cell membrane has to have a channel protein for it. And the channel protein has where ATP binds to it. ATP is the energy molecule and converts to ADP, and the energy is given for this active transport. Then question number 7. Frogs are amphibians and so have a partially permeable skin. They live in and near water such as lakes and marshes where the water contains a low concentration of mineral ions. They absorb any water they need through the skin. Biologists are concerned that frogs living near coast will be endangered if global warming leads to rise in the sea level. Sea water contains a high concentration of mineral ions. What would happen to the frogs if their habitat became flooded with seawater? Naturally, water would move out of the frog by osmosis. So the answer is D. But why is others wrong? And what was the question? You see, they told you in the question that they live in near water and where the water contains a low concentration of mineral ions, and then they can absorb any water they need through their skin. But if the concentration outside becomes more, because it says seawater contains a high concentration of mineral ions, so water will move from inside the frog to outside, from a higher water potential to a lower water potential, because too many ions would lower the water potential. So water would move into the frog. That is wrong. Mineral ions would move out of the frog by diffusion. No, they're already more in the seawater. Water would move into the frog by diffusion. Water moves by osmosis, not by diffusion. Question number 8. The diagram shows an enzyme molecule. Which diagram shows the substrate for this enzyme? So the substrate has to be something like this. Some structure like this. Now you know which one of this is this. So it's this one. It's A. So that is how you have to figure this out. Question number 9. The enzyme amylase catalyzes the breakdown of starch into maltose. The effect of different pH on the time it took for its breakdown to occur when all other variables were controlled was investigated. Which graph shows the results of this investigation? So you see, enzymes work best at a certain pH. Now, what do you have on the y-axis is time taken for the reaction. Time taken for the reaction on y-axis, pH on the x-axis. We've got the same thing on C and D as well. So pH and time taken for the reaction. Now, how would it affect it? The time taken for the reaction to decrease at an optimum pH. So the answer is D. The time taken would decrease. So this is if you just write here 1 second, 2 seconds, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds. So there will be less time taken at a certain pH, because if that is the optimum pH, then the time taken for the reaction. So always when you have a graph, just write here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, anything you could write, 5, 10, 15, anything you can write. And then on the pH also, you could have written something like pH 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, and so on and so forth. So you can write anything on, you must always write some numbers on it to make yourself understand the question. So when it's the optimum pH, it would take the least time for the reaction to take place because it would be very fast. Just like in optimum temperature, they would take less time for the reaction to take place. Now coming to question number 10, what are features of enzyme? They act on specific substrate. Now this one is correct. So whichever one does not have one, that is wrong. So this one is wrong. Then it says they are carbohydrates. Now this is wrong. So if there's any two, that is also wrong. So this is wrong. There's no other two. That was two, so that is wrong as well. Then they are catalysts. Yes, that's right. They're involved in some but not all metabolic reaction. No, we don't know that. So the answer is B, 1 and 3 only. Question number 11. The diagram shows a transverse section through a leaf. In which parts of the leaf can photosynthesis takes place? Now you know it takes place. It doesn't take place in the cuticle. So E is the cuticle, F is the upper epidermis. And then you have G, which is the palisade mesophyll, K is the spongy, L is the air space, M is the guard cell. Now you know the guard cells can photosynthesize, they have chloroplast in them. So that is why you have to look at the nearest answer. So that is C, G and M. Why G and M? G is the palisade. K also has photosynthesis, has chloroplast in it. So there's actually only in the palisade mesophyll, spongy mesophyll, and the guard cell. Nowhere else do we have chloroplasts. So it is G and M. But could have been G, K, and M. But there's no such answer. There's no such option available. Question number 12. Which transverse section photomicrograph shows the position of the xylem and phloem in a non-woody dicot stem? Now you know that the xylem is inside and the phloem is outside. Here the phloem is labeled inside, so this is wrong. Here, what do we have now? This, of course, why is it going wrong? Why is C and D going wrong? Because it said in a stem, these two are the roots. These two are diagrams of the root. So they're not the stem. So that is why the answer to 12 is A. Question number 13. Students set up apparatus to measure the uptake of water by a leafy shoot. Now, this is called a pottometer. You have an air bubble here. This is the water reservoir. This is the leafy shoot, and then you have the ruler, and then you have water in which this tube is dipping into it. They recorded the position of the air bubble at the start. They observed the apparatus for 10 minutes and recorded the distance that it traveled. So it say it traveled this side, it's going to travel this side because the water is going to enter and then it's going to come out the leaf. So the bubble is naturally going to travel this side. They observed the apparatus for 10 minutes and recorded the distance traveled by the air bubble at 1 minute intervals. They then switched on a fan, pointed towards the leafy shoot, and recorded the distance traveled by the air bubble from the start. So first without the fan, then with the fan, and each minute for another 10 minutes. Which graph would they draw from their data? First understand the question. Which graph would they draw from the data? So first it was without the fan, and then the rate of transpiration should have increased, so the bubble should have moved more, right? So the bubble should have moved more. You must look at the question first, and then you should think what is the possible answers going to be. Now let's look at the different graphs. Now, what is happening in A? The distance. Now, this y-axis is the distance in millimeter and time in minutes. So, how much distance did it travel? Did it travel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 millimeter? So, write that 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. So, distance in millimeter. Now, here the distance, the millimeter, the movement was the same at 5 minutes, at 10 minutes, and then it has decreased. In B, the movement, the distance moved has increased, and then it has become constant. In C, it is it's a linear, is directly proportional. In D, it is less without the fan, and then it is increased with the fan. So the distance moved is less, and then it has, so that is the answer. You see, it will move, say, 1 millimeter. Then in 5 minutes, it has moved another 2 millimeter. Then at 10 minutes, it's moved about 3 millimeter. And then and another, it has moved about 6 millimeter. So this is how you are supposed to read this graph. Now, graph reading is a very important aspect. Please learn it, try to understand it, and get your concepts clear on it. Question number 14. The percentages of each of the gases in inspired and expired air are measured when a student is resting and when a student is exercising. The results are shown. From the data, which statement is not correct? So let's look at it. Nitrogen in the air is 78, expired air 78, 78. Then we look at oxygen is 21, 16, 14.5. 21, 16, 14.5. Carbon dioxide 0.04, 5.04, and 6.54. Now from the data, which statement is not correct? When it says not correct, then the others are all correct. The difference between the percentages of carbon dioxide in expired when exercising and expired when resting is 1.5. Is that correct? So when you look at this thing, the percentage, I've given the working here. So the percentage of carbon dioxide expired air was 6.54, and then it says when resting, this was 5.04. So 6.54 minus is 1.5. So this is correct. When resting, the difference between the percentage of oxygen in inspired and expired air is due to oxygen being used by respiration in the body. Yes, that's correct. That's correct. That is being used by respiration in the body. So that is correct as well. Then inspired air, now this is wrong. C is wrong. Because if you divide 21 by 0.04, it's 525. It's not 52.5 times. So this is wrong. You need to figure this out. I've done this. So you do this on your calculator. The percentage of oxygen taken from inspired air is the same as the percentage of carbon dioxide added to expired air when exercising. So I've done that here, and you can find it. It's the same. So there was a little bit of maths. I know some of you are very good at it. Some of you are, of course, pathetic at it. So God help you. Question number 15. Which balanced chemical equation shows aerobic respiration? So it has to be glucose plus oxygen. So these are all wrong. So glucose plus oxygen. This is only glucose. This is glucose plus oxygen. So D is correct. This was, of course, for anaerobic respiration. when alcohol and carbon dioxide are made. So this is for anaerobic respiration. This is of course wrong. There, this is for photosynthesis. Question number 16. Blood is made from a number of different components. The pie chart shows the percentage volume of each of the components of blood: plasma, red blood cell, and white blood cells. What is the percentage volume of blood for the component that has the function of transporting oxygen? What is that component? Red blood cells. So what is the component of that? You need to figure this out from the pie chart. No, it was simple, very easy. You had to just draw. I just drew these lines and I said each one of this is 25%. So this was one was 25 and then there is this portion of it. So it has to be quite a lot. So it has to be C, which is 44%. It couldn't be 30% because each quarter is 25%. So this is how I figured it out. Question number 17. What is the total number of atria and ventricles that the blood passes through during two complete circuits of the human body? So you see, what you've got to understand is the heart is something like this. So blood comes into the atria from both sides, right and left side, then enters the ventricle. So we've got the valves here. So enters the ventricle and then is pumped out. So four, it goes through two atria and two ventricles. So if it's got two complete circuits, it's going to be eight. Both the atria fill up, blood pumped into the ventricles, both the ventricles pump the blood out, then it returns to the atria. So two circles means eight atria. So one atria, two atria, three ventricle, four ventricle. If this is twice, so that is the answer is 8. Question number 18. The table shows the range of percentages of different types of tissue found in the walls of the aorta of people of different ages. Collagen tissue is present in the walls of blood vessels to provide strength and support. Type of tissue: elastic, muscle, and collagen. Percentage: young adult, old adult. Now, which conclusion about the range of percentages is correct? Now, they don't expect you to know it, but they expect you to look at this table and give you. So, the elastic tissue was 38 to 46%. Now, it has decreased from 28 to 40% in older people. The muscle was 14 to 21 and now it's gone down from 9 to 37. Now, it's gone, the range has increased. It was 14 to 21, so 9 and then 37. So, the range has increased. From 14 to 21, only 7. Now it is 9 to 37. It's about 35. Collagen was 13 to 36 and now it is 24 to 51. So the collagen has increased. Which conclusions about the range of percentages is correct? So the range of collagen tissue found in people of both age groups is 39. No, that's wrong. The range of each type of tissue is smaller in older adults than in young adults. Not necessarily. I mean, collagen has increased. And the range of muscle tissue in old adults is 4 times greater than in young adults. The range of muscle, let's look at it, 14 to 21 and now it's 37. 4 times greater. Is it 4 times greater? Yes, that is the answer. D, the range of elastic tissue in people of both age groups is the greatest of all three types of tissues. Well, not necessarily. You see, if you do this calculation, is 21 minus 14 is 7 here, and 37 minus 9 is 28. So 4 times 7 fours are 28. I mean, if you know your tables well, you'll probably figure it out. Question number 19. The table shows information about three different blood vessels, P, Q, and R. One of the vessels is an artery, one is a capillary, and one is a vein. So you know that the thickness of the wall, artery has the thicker wall, so and vein has a thin wall. So now this has to be an artery because it's 1000 micrometer, the thickness of the wall. So this P has to be the vein. Now diameter of the lumen is 5 millimeter. And using the information, which is the cross-sectional area of the lumen of the vein, pi r square. So pi is they've given you 3.14, and r will be radius will be 5 is the lumen, so it will be 2.5. So 2.5 into 2.5, which is pi r square, and then you multiply that by 3.14. So the answer is 19.6 millimeter square, because please remember this answer is in millimeter and you have to calculate it in millimeter. Question number 20. The table shows the number of deaths estimated to be due to smoking in England each year from 2009 to 2019. Number of deaths estimated to be due to smoking: 2009 82,000, then 80,000, then 78, 78, 78, 77, 79, 77, so on and so forth. Use the information in the table. Which statement is correct? Now I've always told you this, that how you handle this is say, does the data tell me this? Does the table tell me this? So the number of deaths decrease every year from 2009 to 2019. Let's look at it. Does that happen? No, it doesn't happen. Then it says the number of deaths decreased by 9% between 2009 and 19. Okay, let's look at it. 2009, 2019, 74,600, 82,000. Now you have to do the calculation. Decreased by 9%. Yes, that's correct. So the answer was B. Right? The lowest number of deaths in 1 year occurred in 2018. Is that correct? 77,000. Was it the lowest? Was anything lower than that? Now, this was not deaths in that year. It was estimated the number of deaths due to smoking. It wasn't the total number of deaths. So that's again an English thing that they were checking. The greatest decrease in the number of deaths in 1 year occurred between 2017 and 2018. No, that's wrong as well. So this is the working that you were supposed to do, and then you got the answer to this was 9%, 9 point something it is, but it is 9% nearly. Question number 21. What is the method used to control the malarial vector? Very basically, malarial vector is a mosquito, is the female Anopheles mosquito which transmits malaria. So it cannot be antibiotics. Antibiotics kill bacteria. Antibodies are produced by lymphocytes in the body. So it had to be insecticide which is going to kill the malaria. Herbicide is you kill the weeds between the crop plants. Like you have a wheat crop and you have some different plants growing in it which is not going to fetch you any money. So that is going to be killed by using a herbicide. Question number 22. Which disease can be treated by using antibiotics? Now, the answer to that was very basic. It was A, because cholera is a bacterial disease. HIV is a viral disease, so that we don't give antibiotics. And viral malaria is caused by Plasmodium, which is a protoctist. It's not a bacteria, it's not a virus. Scurvy is a deficiency disease caused by the lack of vitamin C. So that is why it was wrong. Which structure is the ureter? Now, that was very easy. The answer is C. This is the ureter. This is the kidney. These are the kidneys A and B. So A and B is what? Is the blood vessels. So if this is coming down, this is the aorta. So B has to be the renal artery. And this is going up. So this is the vena cava. So the vessel entering it, this would be the renal vein. So that's not the answer. And D is the urethra. And this is the urinary bladder. The process of filtration and reabsorption takes place in the kidneys. The daily amounts of some of the substance entering the kidneys in the blood and of these substances leaving the kidneys in the urine are shown. So water enters 150 dm cube, 1.5 dm cube is lost in the urine. Glucose 150 is 0 grams. Urea 50 grams, and in the leaving in the kidneys and the urine is 30 grams. Which percentage of each substance is reabsorbed by the kidneys during a day? Percentage of substance reabsorbed by the kidney. So 150 to 1.5, it is water. Glucose 150, all of it is reabsorbed. So the percentage of substance reabsorbed by the kidney. Now what is the possible answer to that? Now the answer is A, but why is the answer A? Because 99% of the water is reabsorbed. Glucose 100% is reabsorbed because it's 150 here and 0 here. So 100% glucose, that was the quickest way to find out the answer to that. And urea 50 gram was entering the kidney and 30 gram is leaving it in the urine. So 20 gram is still inside. So that is how we had to figure this out. And selective reabsorption and ultrafiltration. And the question number 25, where are the receptors for the pupil reflex located? You see, pupil reflex is in response to bright light. So where are the receptors for light? The receptors for light are in the retina. The retina has the light sensitive cells, which are the rods and cones, which can detect light. And when there's bright light, then the pupil The circular muscles of the iris will contract and the pupil will become constricted. Please don't use the word contract. Contract is only for muscle. Muscles can contract and relax. So receptors for the pupil reflex. The pupil becomes smaller in diameter when there is bright light. So this is how you have to figure that out. So retina would be the one which will have the receptors, which will receive that this is now more light entering the eye. So we need to protect the eye. It's a protective mechanism so that extra light can damage the retina, not the eye. Too much light can damage the retina.